Alright, so in this little brief, I would like to explain my personal approach to studying the geographical distribution of beliefs, the history of beliefs, the intellectual history of beliefs, vis-a-vis metaphysics. So, for example, if we have an animistic distribution of beliefs in Africa 200,000 years ago, or so-called participation mystiques, and evolving into some kind of a totemic worship, animal worship, fetishism, and so on, through the lunar cults, astral cults, any forms of organized religion, organized philosophical systems, and so on, it is often disproved that how can gods and goddesses exist if there is a variety of belief systems that are different from each other? Well, I believe that the metaphysical aspect is unveiled and interpreted in many ways. So even when we take physical anthropology or symbolical anthropology, Deorum for example, which is atheizing the matter, it is still useful to study it because we may arrive at certain metaphysical ideas. So I'll present you with a diagram and try to explain it to the possibility to what I may explain. So let's see. This is a diagram for the scientific apparatus in comparative religions intersecting with the metaphysical veritabilities or the unveiled godhood, the Isis unveiled, hieros. It postulates that a magical technology, human magical technology, operates on symbols and ceremonies pertaining to humans only, and is both intelligible and occulted to the magical operators through narrations, symbols, acts, and reactiveness from the metaphysical dimension that proved to be effective. In other words, there is a link between the objective physical and metaphysical reality and the acts of the operator himself, be it through symbols, ceremonies, acts, performances, and so on. So, the anthropology of symbol, Durant, is a study of the archetypes of the symbolism that emerges throughout common patterns in humanity. And Vladimir Prop was one of the first ones to conjure the morphology of a folk tale. His studies are still useful regarding the development of myths, for example. This inspired Joseph Campbell to write his Hero with a Thousand Faces and his Masks of God, his studies in religion. Another one is Mircea Eliade, History of Religious Ideas. So, by analyzing the geographical historical dispersion of magical techniques and genealogy and evolution vis-a-vis belief systems, religions, cults, and by studying the history of religious and metaphysical ideas, combined with the intellectual history of humankind, we may study it from the participation mystique aforementioned, through animism to magical paradigms, religions. It's a never-ending story back and forth. In other words, we may arrive at very complex symbolic, metaphysical, magical techniques as dharmic doctors in Buddhism, but it doesn't disprove, for example, animism or Bon traditions. Now, beliefs and magical techniques are studied vis-a-vis metaphysics and cosmos. So we study where the divinities, the gods, and humans intersect and try to arrive at proper magical technologies and reverence and honesty. Now we study the cultic archaeological data and preserve the episteme or the knowledge of cultic codifications of experiences, because a law is merely a codification of experience. So is a religion a codification of metaphysical experiences, so is any cult and any form of religious movement, if it's not fake. Cargo cults, for example, or some religions that are closer to delusion and ignorance than realization and illumination. So we have the metaphysical cloud of families of heavens, different traditions, Etica Enki, Etica Odini, and so on, and we try to move it by studying it and by being initiated into those mysteries in order to be successful and effective in them. Now there is another thing, that objective relations between the magical operator and the actualities of the metaphysical world, these are relative relations via symbol and token, symbol and type. So, aforementioned cargo cults are void activities unrelated to the world at large. In other words, if you pursue a magical act or ceremony that has no mirroring in the objective physical or metaphysical dynamic, active or permanent laws, you are just ineffective and you are pursuing a phantasmagoria. So I hope this was explained in a structural fashion that may enable some of you to think about it in a more rounded and bright fashion. Thank you.